these relationships that are founded in the earliest years of our lives. People often ask why I care so passionately about the early years. Many mistakenly believe that my interest stems from having children of my own.
A secret midnight meeting, a velvet box sealed for over 20 years, and Queen Camilla left out in the cold. When Princess Alexandra handed Catherine the Queen Mother's hidden jewels, she didn't just break royal protocol, she detonated a bombshell that's tearing the monarchy apart from the inside. What was written inside that box has left King Charles speechless and Camilla furious.
Now, just over 60 years ago, John Steinbeck received the Nobel Prize for Literature. He gave a stirring speech on that occasion, a copy of which should, I believe, be on the desk of every author.
The Queen Mother's final message from beyond the grave just chose the next real queen, and it's not who you think. What happens next will change the royal family forever. When reports began circulating that Princess Alexandra had quietly transferred a collection of royal jewels to Catherine, Princess of Wales, the response from Buckingham Palace was notable for what it didn't say. There were no official statements, no press releases, and no clarifications. The silence itself became the story, our phasing questions about what had actually happened behind closed doors, and why the palace seemed so reluctant to address it. The jewels in question were not just valuable pieces from the royal collection. According to sources familiar with the matter, they had belonged personally to Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, who passed away in 2002. These were items she had kept separate from the official crown jewels, pieces that held personal significance and were meant to be passed down according to her own wishes, rather than through formal royal protocols. Princess Alexandra, now in her late 80s, is one of the few remaining members of the royal family who knew the Queen Mother personally and intimately. As the daughter of Prince George, Duke of Kent, and Princess Marina of Greece and Denmark, Alexandra grew up within the inner circle of the royal family. She was particularly close to her aunt, the Queen Mother, and their relationship was marked by mutual respect and deep affection. Those who know Alexandra describe her as deeply traditional, fiercely loyal to the crown, and not someone given to impulsive or dramatic gestures. This is what made the reported transfer so significant. If Alexandra had indeed chosen to hand over these jewels to Catherine, it would have been a carefully considered decision, not a spontaneous act. According to multiple sources within royal circles, the exchange took place during a private meeting at Clarence House, away from the usual scrutiny of royal staff, and certainly far from any media attention. The meeting was reportedly brief but meaningful, with Alexandra personally placing the items into Catherine's hands. The location itself is significant. Clarence House served as the Queen Mother's London residence for nearly 50 years until her death. It remains a place steeped in her memory and presence. For Alexandra to choose this setting for such a transfer suggests an intentional connection to the Queen Mother herself, as if the location was meant to reinforce the legitimacy and importance of what was being passed on. What makes this transfer particularly noteworthy is who was apparently excluded from it. Queen Camilla, as the current queen consort, might have been expected to receive personal items from the Queen Mother as part of her role. However, according to sources close to the situation, Camilla was not informed about the transfer beforehand and only learned about it after the fact. This exclusion has been interpreted by many observers as highly significant, suggesting that the Queen Mother's personal wishes regarding her belongings did not include Camilla, despite her position. The relationship between the Queen Mother and Camilla was always complicated. During the years when Charles and Camilla's relationship was developing, while Charles was still married to Diana, the Queen Mother made no secret of her disapproval. She was deeply fond of Diana and viewed the situation as damaging to the monarchy's reputation. Even after Diana's death in 1997, the Queen Mother reportedly remained cool toward Camilla. She passed away in 2002, just weeks after her daughter Queen Elizabeth II, and did not live to see Charles and Camilla marry in 2005. Royal historians have noted that the Queen Mother was extremely particular about her personal possessions and their symbolic meaning. She understood that jewelry within the royal family carried significance beyond mere monetary value. Each piece told a story, represented a moment in history, or symbolized a particular virtue or value. She was known to have strong opinions about who should wear what, and these opinions were often based on her assessment of a person's character and their commitment to royal duty. The items reportedly transferred to Catherine are believed to include several brooches and possibly other pieces that the Queen Mother wore regularly during her public life. These were not the most famous or valuable items in her collection, but they were pieces she chose to wear often, suggesting they held personal meaning for her. One piece in particular, a brooch she wore at significant royal events, had not been seen in public for more than 2 decades, leading many to believe it had been deliberately kept in storage. For Catherine, receiving these items represents more than just an addition to her jewelry collection. It can be seen as a form of endorsement from beyond the grave, a signal that the Queen Mother would have approved of her and the way she has conducted herself as a member of the royal family. Catherine has faced intense scrutiny since she began dating Prince William in the early 2000s. She has been photographed, analyzed, and critiqued constantly, yet she has maintained a composed and dignified public presence throughout. The parallels between Catherine's experience and that of Diana, Princess of Wales, have not gone unnoticed. Both women married into the royal family as outsiders. Both faced enormous pressure and media attention, and both had to learn to navigate the complex world of royal protocol and public expectation. However, Catherine has approached her role differently, maintaining a lower profile and avoiding public controversy. This measured approach appears to have earned her respect within the family, and potentially, based on this jewelry transfer, the posthumous approval of the Queen Mother herself. The timing of the transfer is also worth noting. It comes at a moment when the royal family is still adjusting to the new reign of King Charles III. The dynamics within the family have shifted, roles have changed, and there is ongoing discussion about what the monarchy should look like in the modern era. In this context, a gesture that reaches back to the Queen Mother and her values could be seen as an attempt to ground the monarchy in its traditional strengths while it navigates contemporary challenges. Within the palace, the reaction to news of the transfer was reportedly mixed. Some staff members saw it as a touching and appropriate gesture, a way of honoring the Queen Mother's memory and ensuring her personal items went to someone who embodies similar values. Others, particularly those close to Queen Camilla, viewed it as problematic, a deliberate slight that undermined Camilla's position and authority as queen consort. The decision to keep the transfer private initially suggests that those involved understood its potential to create tension. Royal protocol typically dictates that significant transfers of property or heirlooms should be documented and go through proper channels. By conducting this exchange privately, Alexandra effectively bypassed the usual systems, making it much harder for anyone to object or intervene after the fact. This raises important questions about authority and legitimacy within the royal family. While the monarch holds ultimate authority over crown property, personal possessions are a different matter. The Queen Mother's personal items were hers to dispose of as she wished, either through her will or through instructions given to trusted family members. If she had indeed left specific instructions about these jewels with Alexandra, then Alexandra was arguably fulfilling those wishes, regardless of how it might be perceived by others. The silence from Buckingham Palace on this matter speaks volumes. In an era when the royal family has become more open about addressing rumors and speculation, the choice not to comment on this transfer suggests either that it is considered too sensitive to discuss publicly, or that any official statement would only draw more attention to family tensions that are better left unacknowledged. The story of these jewels and their transfer doesn't begin with the private meeting between Alexandra and Catherine. To understand the full significance of what happened, we need to look back several decades to the final years of the Queen Mother's life, when she was quietly making arrangements for how her legacy would be preserved and protected. The Queen Mother lived to the remarkable age of 101, passing away in March 2002. In her later years, she remained mentally sharp and deeply engaged with the future of the monarchy, even as her physical health declined. Those who worked closely with her during this period have described a woman who was acutely aware that the royal family faced challenges unlike any it had encountered before. The death of Diana in 1997 had shaken public confidence in the institution. The changing media landscape meant greater scrutiny and less deference. The Queen Mother understood that the monarchy would need to adapt while somehow maintaining its essential character. According to several accounts from former staff members and family friends, the Queen Mother spent considerable time in her final years reviewing her personal possessions and making decisions about their future. This wasn't simply about distributing valuable items among her descendants. She saw her personal collection, particularly her jewelry, as carrying symbolic weight. Each piece represented something about the values and traditions she wanted to see continued. Royal biographers have noted that the Queen Mother had very specific ideas about what made someone suitable to represent the monarchy. She valued discretion, dignity, and an understanding that royal life required personal sacrifice. She had lived through enormous changes during her long life, from the abdication crisis that unexpectedly made her husband king, through World War II, and into the modern media age. Through all of it, she had maintained a particular approach to royal duty that emphasized grace under pressure and putting the institution before personal desires. Her relationship with various family members reflected these values. She adored her daughter, Queen Elizabeth II, who she felt embodied everything a monarch should be. She was fond of her grandsons, though she reportedly worried about both Charles and Andrew at various points. Her relationship with Diana was warm initially, but became complicated as Diana's marriage to Charles deteriorated. Even so, many observers noted that the Queen Mother seemed to appreciate Diana's ability to connect with ordinary people, even if she disapproved of some of Diana's choices. When it came to Camilla, the situation was notably different. The Queen Mother made little effort to hide her feelings about Charles's relationship with Camilla during his marriage to Diana. Friends of the Queen Mother have said she viewed the situation as damaging to the monarchy and felt that Camilla represented everything that could go wrong when personal desire was placed above duty. Even after Diana's death, when public opinion began gradually shifting, and it became clear that Charles intended to eventually marry Camilla, the Queen Mother remained distant. It's important to note that the Queen Mother's feelings weren't simply about personal morality. She was deeply concerned with how the monarchy was perceived by the public. She had seen firsthand during the abdication crisis how a perceived disregard for duty could shake the institution to its core. Her father-in-law, Edward VIII, had chosen personal happiness over his role as king, and the Queen Mother never forgot the chaos and pain that decision had caused her own family. Within this context, her decisions about her personal jewelry take on greater significance. These weren't just pretty objects to be distributed among relatives. They were tools she could use to send messages about what she valued and who she believed embodied those values. By making specific arrangements for certain pieces, she was essentially creating a roadmap for the kind of monarchy she hoped would continue after her death. Princess Alexandra became a key figure in these arrangements. As the Queen Mother's niece and someone who shared her traditional values, Alexandra was someone the Queen Mother trusted implicitly. Unlike some younger royals who had become more comfortable with modern media and were willing to discuss their private lives publicly, Alexandra maintained an old-fashioned discretion. She carried out her royal duties without seeking attention and had managed to avoid scandal throughout her decades of public service. According to sources familiar with the situation, the Queen Mother had several private conversations with Alexandra in her final years. During these conversations, she apparently expressed specific wishes about certain personal items. She wanted them preserved and eventually given to someone who she felt would honor their significance. The challenge was that in 2002, when the Queen Mother died, Catherine Middleton was still a university student, years away from becoming engaged to Prince William. This timing is crucial to understanding what happened. The Queen Mother couldn't have known Catherine personally, Yet the arrangements she made with Alexandra eventually resulted in these jewels being given to Catherine. This suggests that the Queen Mother's instructions were less about specific individuals and more about qualities and circumstances. She may have told Alexandra to wait for the right moment and the right person, someone who demonstrated particular virtues or who occupied a particular role within the family. Some royal observers have speculated that the Queen Mother's instructions were conditional, tied to future events or positions. For example, she might have specified that certain items should go to whoever married the future Prince of Wales, but only if that person met certain criteria, or after they had proven themselves through years of service. This would explain why the transfer happened now, after Catherine has been in the royal family for well over a decade and has established herself as a reliable and dignified presence. The meeting at Clarence's house where the actual transfer took place has been described by those with knowledge of it as deeply emotional. Alexandra, now in her 80s, was fulfilling a promise she had kept for more than 20 years. For her, this wasn't simply about handing over jewelry. It was about completing a sacred duty to someone she had loved and respected enormously. Catherine's reaction to receiving these items has been characterized as overwhelmed but understanding. She reportedly grasped immediately that this wasn't just a generous gift from an elderly relative. The way Alexandra presented the items, the location chosen for the meeting, and the solemnity of the occasion all communicated that something significant was happening. Catherine was being entrusted with objects that carried the weight of royal history and the expectations of a woman who had defined what it meant to be a successful royal consort. Among the items transferred was reportedly a brooch that the Queen Mother had worn at Queen Elizabeth II's coronation in 1953. This particular piece had been absent from public view for decades, leading to speculation about its whereabouts. Its reappearance in Catherine's possession carried enormous symbolic weight. The coronation of 1953 represented a moment of renewal for Britain after the hardships of World War II and the austerity of the immediate post-war years. It was a spectacle of tradition and pageantry that reminded people of continuity and stability. For the brooch worn at that event to now be in Catherine's hands suggested a similar moment of renewal and continuity. The items also reportedly included a handwritten note from the Queen Mother. While the exact contents of this note have not been made public, sources indicate it contained guidance about duty and service. The Queen Mother was known for her beautiful handwriting and for the thoughtful letters she wrote throughout her life. That she would leave a written message to accompany these jewels indicates how seriously she took this request and how important she felt it was to communicate her reasoning and expectations. For Catherine, reading words written by the Queen Mother decades ago must have been a profound experience. Here was a woman she never met, who died before Catherine had even entered royal life, yet who had somehow anticipated this moment and left guidance for it. The note apparently emphasized the importance of grace and dignity over ambition, values that Catherine has consistently demonstrated throughout her time in the royal family. The emotional impact on Catherine was reportedly significant. Those close to her have said she felt an enormous sense of responsibility upon receiving these items. They weren't just valuable jewelry to be worn at events. They represented a trust placed in her by someone who had spent nearly a century serving the monarchy. They also represented a connection across generations, linking Catherine to the Queen Mother and to a tradition of royal service that stretches back centuries. When news of the jewelry transfer reached Queen Camilla, the reaction was swift and intense. According to sources close to the royal household, she was deeply upset by what she perceived as a deliberate exclusion. For Camilla, this wasn't simply about valuable jewelry or even sentimental family heirlooms. It was about what the gesture represented in terms of acceptance and legitimacy within the royal family. Camilla's journey to becoming queen consort has been long and difficult. Her relationship with Charles began in the early 1970s, but circumstances and family pressure led them to separate. Charles married Diana in 1981, while Camilla married Andrew Parker Bowles. However, Charles and Camilla maintained their connection, and their ongoing relationship during both of their marriages became one of the most controversial aspects of modern royal history. The public largely sided with Diana, viewing Camilla as the other woman who had destroyed a fairy tale marriage. After Diana's death in 1997, Charles and Camilla eventually went public with their relationship. They married in 2005 in a civil ceremony, a notably modest affair compared to Charles's first wedding. Even then, public opinion remained divided. Many people who had loved Diana found it difficult to accept Camilla in any royal role. Camilla has spent nearly 2 decades working to rehabilitate her image, taking on royal duties, supporting charities, and trying to demonstrate her commitment to the role she occupies. When Queen Elizabeth II died in September 2022, Camilla automatically became Queen Consort. The late Queen had publicly expressed her wish that Camilla would hold this title, which was seen as a significant endorsement. For Camilla, becoming Queen Consort represented the culmination of years of effort and the ultimate acceptance by the institution she had married into. However, the transfer of the Queen Mother's jewels to Catherine, rather than to her, seemed to undermine that acceptance. The exclusion was particularly painful because of who was doing the excluding. The Queen Mother had been a formidable figure in the royal family, beloved by the British public and deeply respected within the institution. Her disapproval of Camilla during her lifetime had been an open secret. For that disapproval to extend beyond the grave, manifesting in the form of jewelry deliberately kept from Camilla and given to someone else, felt like a public rejection of her legitimacy as Queen Consort. People close to Camilla have described her as devastated by the situation. She reportedly spent considerable time in private, declining to attend certain events and withdrawing from some of her usual activities. Staff members noticed the change in her demeanor. Someone who had worked hard to appear confident and comfortable in her role now seemed uncertain and hurt. The fact that the transfer had been kept secret from her until after it happened only added to the sense of betrayal. It suggested that others in the family knew she would object and had deliberately worked around her. For King Charles, the situation created an impossible dilemma. On one hand, he has spent much of his adult life devoted to Camilla. He defied public opinion, endured years of criticism, and waited decades to marry the woman he loved. His loyalty to her has been unwavering, even when it cost him popularity and strained his relationship with his sons. On the other hand, he has always been deeply influenced by his mother and grandmother, 2 women who dedicated their entire lives to the monarchy, and who he has tried throughout his life to please and emulate. The realization that his grandmother had made arrangements specifically excluding his wife was profoundly troubling for Charles. According to those familiar with his reaction, he became withdrawn and pensive when he learned the full details of what had happened. He understood immediately that any attempt to intervene or retrieve the jewels would be disastrous. It would pit him against both Princess Alexandra, an elderly and respected member of the family, and against Catherine, who has become one of the most popular royals and who would one day be queen. Charles's advisors were unanimous in counseling restraint. They pointed out that the public perception of the situation heavily favored Catherine. She has spent years building a reputation as dedicated, hardworking, and scandal-free. The idea that she was receiving jewelry from the Queen Mother would be seen by most people as appropriate and touching. Any attempt by Charles or Camilla to challenge this would likely backfire spectacularly, making them appear petty and vindictive. There was also the matter of legal and institutional authority. While the monarch has control over crown property and can make decisions about official royal jewels, personal property is different. The Queen Mother's personal belongings were hers to dispose of as she wished. If she had left instructions with Alexandra about how certain items should be distributed, then Alexandra was arguably carrying out those instructions. Charles, as king, might technically have the power to demand the return of the items, but doing so would raise serious questions about respecting the wishes of deceased family members and could set a troubling precedent. Prince William's involvement in the situation added another layer of complexity. According to sources within the palace, William spoke privately with his father about the jewelry transfer. While the exact nature of their conversation has not been made public, it's understood that William supported Catherine's right to keep the items. His position was reportedly that if the Queen Mother had wanted these items to go to Catherine, whether through direct instructions or through arrangements made with Alexandra, then that wish should be respected. William's intervention was significant because it demonstrated family unity across generations. It showed that the future king stood with his wife and believed she deserved recognition and support from the family. For Charles, this added to the difficulty of the situation. Any move against Catherine would not just be opposed by his daughter-in-law, but potentially by his son as well, creating a rift between the current and future monarchs that could damage the institution. The weeks following the revelation were marked by notable tension within the royal family. Public events continued as scheduled, but those who observed the family closely noticed changes in dynamics. Interactions between family members became more formal and less warm. Camilla's absences from certain functions were explained away with vague references to scheduling conflicts or minor health issues, but observers suspected the real reason was emotional rather than logistical. Staff members within the various royal households found themselves in awkward positions. Loyalty was divided, and there was uncertainty about how to handle questions or situations that touched on the jewelry issue. Some staff members were sympathetic to Camilla, feeling she had been treated unfairly. Others believed that Catherine had every right to the items, and that Camilla's reaction was disproportionate. This division among staff reflected broader questions about legitimacy, tradition, and change within the monarchy. Princess Alexandra's role in all of this remained somewhat mysterious. She largely withdrew from public comment, maintaining the discretion that had characterized her entire royal life. However, those close to her indicated that she had no regrets about her decision. She had made a promise to her aunt decades earlier, and she had fulfilled that promise. If others were unhappy with the result, that was not her concern. Her loyalty was to the Queen Mother's memory and wishes, not to maintaining current family harmony. The situation also raised questions about King Charles's ability to manage family dynamics as monarch. Previous monarchs, particularly Queen Elizabeth II, had been skilled at balancing competing interests and maintaining family unity, even during difficult periods. The jewelry controversy, while seemingly minor in the grand scheme of royal challenges, was testing Charles's leadership within his own family. His decision to remain silent and take no action was interpreted by some as wise restraint, and by others as weakness or indecision. For Camilla, the aftermath of the revelation has been a period of adjustment and reflection. She has continued her royal duties, but there seems to be a subtle shift in how she approaches her role. Some observers have noted that she appears less assured, more careful in her interactions, and perhaps more aware of the limits of her position. The jewelry transfer served as a reminder that despite her title, despite her years of service, there remain elements of the royal family and its history that do not fully accept or embrace her. The broader impact on the monarchy has been a subject of considerable discussion among royal observers. Some argue that the situation demonstrates the institution's fundamental inability to move beyond its past, that the Queen Mother's disapproval of Camilla from decades ago continues to haunt the present. Others suggest that it shows the strength of royal tradition and the importance of maintaining standards and values, even when they create uncomfortable situations. The question of whether the monarchy is helped or hurt by this kind of historical continuity remains open to debate. Several weeks after the private transfer of jewelry, Catherine made a public appearance that would transform a quiet family matter into a moment of national significance. She attended a charity event focused on children's welfare, a cause she has championed for years. The event itself was relatively small and not heavily covered by major media outlets. It was the kind of engagement that royals undertake regularly, meeting with charity workers, speaking with beneficiaries, and drawing attention to important causes without seeking personal glory. What made this particular appearance extraordinary was a single piece of jewelry. Catherine wore one of the brooches that had belonged to the Queen Mother, a piece that had not been seen in public for more than 20 years. The brooch was distinctive enough that royal jewelry experts and historians recognized it immediately. Within hours of the first photographs appearing online, social media erupted with discussion and analysis. The brooch in question was not the most elaborate or valuable piece from the Queen Mother's collection, but it carried significant historical weight. The Queen Mother had worn it at numerous important occasions throughout her long life. It represented her sense of duty and her commitment to public service. For those familiar with royal history, seeing it worn by Catherine was laden with meaning. It suggested continuity between generations, a passing of the torch from one era to another. What's particularly notable is that Catherine made no announcement about the brooch. She didn't draw attention to it or explain its significance. She simply wore it while going about her royal duties. This understated approach was entirely in keeping with how she has conducted herself throughout her time in the royal family. Rather than seeking attention or making grand gestures, she has consistently let her actions speak for themselves. The public response was immediate and overwhelmingly positive. News outlets around the world picked up the story. Royal commentators analyzed every aspect of the appearance, from the choice of brooch to the timing of wearing it publicly. Social media was flooded with comments praising Catherine for honoring the Queen Mother's memory. Many people expressed the view that it was fitting and appropriate for Catherine to have received these items and to wear them in public. The photographs from the event spread rapidly online, shared and reshared by people who don't normally follow royal news closely. There was something about the image of Catherine wearing the Queen Mother's brooch that resonated with a broad audience. For older generations who remembered the Queen Mother fondly, it was a touching connection to the past. For younger people, it represented a sense of tradition and continuity in an often chaotic world. Royal historians and commentators noted that Catherine's decision to wear the brooch publicly was a statement, even if unspoken. By wearing it at a charity event rather than a grand state occasion, she was emphasizing service over spectacle. This aligned perfectly with the Queen Mother's own values and approach to royal duty. The Queen Mother had been known for her commitment to charitable work and her ability to connect with ordinary people during difficult times, particularly during World War II. The contrast with Queen Camilla's situation was impossible to ignore, though most mainstream media outlets handled it delicately. Catherine was being celebrated for wearing jewelry from the Queen Mother, while Camilla had been excluded from receiving any of these personal items. The implicit message was clear to anyone paying attention. The public and the media saw Catherine as the rightful heir to the Queen Mother's legacy, in a way that Camilla, despite her title, was not. Within the palace, reactions to Catherine's public appearance with the brooch were mixed. Some saw it as a brilliant stroke, a way of normalizing the jewelry transfer and making it part of Catherine's public image rather than a source of controversy. By wearing the piece openly and without fanfare, she had made it clear that she had nothing to hide and that she viewed the jewelry as something to be worn and used rather than locked away. Others, particularly those close to Queen Camilla, saw the public wearing of the brooch as provocative. Whether intentionally or not, it drew attention to Camilla's exclusion from the Queen Mother's personal legacy. Every positive comment about Catherine wearing the brooch was an implicit reminder that Camilla had not been deemed worthy of such items. The situation was painful for Camilla and frustrating for her supporters within the royal household. Princess Alexandra, watching from her home, was reportedly deeply moved by seeing Catherine wear the brooch in public. For Alexandra, this moment represented the completion of the task she had been entrusted with decades earlier. The Queen Mother's jewelry was not just being preserved, it was being used for its intended purpose, worn by someone who embodied the values the Queen Mother had cherished. Friends of Alexandra have said she felt a profound sense of peace after seeing the photographs, as if a weight she had carried for 20 years had finally been lifted. The public appearance also had an impact on how Catherine herself is perceived. She has long been seen as a safe and reliable member of the royal family, someone who understands her role and carries it out effectively. However, the jewelry situation and her graceful handling of it elevated her status further. She was no longer just a capable duchess and future queen. She was now being seen as the keeper of royal tradition, someone who had been chosen by history itself to carry forward the values of previous generations. This perception has only been reinforced by Catherine's continued behavior in the months since that first public appearance with the brooch. She has worn other pieces from the Queen Mother's collection on subsequent occasions, always in contexts that emphasize duty and service rather than glamour or status. Each appearance generates positive media coverage and public approval, gradually cementing the narrative that Catherine is the natural and rightful recipient of the Queen Mother's legacy. The impact on King Charles has been complex. On one hand, he has had to watch his wife endure public humiliation, while his daughter-in-law receives praise and adoration. On the other hand, as monarch, he must recognize that Catherine's popularity and her connection to the Queen Mother's legacy strengthens the institution he now leads. The monarchy's future depends heavily on William and Catherine, and anything that enhances their standing ultimately benefits the crown, even if it creates personal difficulties for Charles and Camilla. There have been subtle signs that Charles has come to accept, if not fully embrace, the situation. He has been observed speaking warmly with Catherine at public events, and has made no attempt to discourage her from wearing the Queen Mother's jewelry. His silence on the matter, which initially might have seemed like paralysis or indecision, has evolved into a form of tacit approval. By not objecting, he has allowed the new narrative to take hold and become established. Queen Camilla has also had to adapt to the new reality. Her public appearances have continued, and she has maintained her dignity throughout this difficult period. However, there has been a noticeable shift in her approach. She seems more measured, less confident perhaps, but also more sympathetic to some observers. The experience of being publicly excluded from the Queen Mother's legacy has in some ways humanized her, showing vulnerability that was not always apparent when she seemed more assured in her position. The broader impact on public perception of the monarchy has been largely positive. At a time when many institutions face questions about their relevance and legitimacy, the jewelry transfer and its aftermath have provided a narrative of continuity and tradition that many people find appealing. It suggests that the monarchy still stands for something beyond celebrity and wealth, that there are genuine values and standards that guide who is honored and recognized within the institution. Royal commentators have noted that this situation has also highlighted the importance of character and conduct over title and position. Catherine's behavior over many years, her discretion, her dedication to charitable work, and her careful navigation of royal life all contributed to her being chosen as the recipient of the Queen Mother's jewelry. It wasn't automatic, it wasn't about rank, it was about worthiness. This meritocratic element provides a counter-narrative to criticisms that the monarchy is simply about hereditary privilege. The mystery surrounding what else might remain in the Queen Mother's sealed possessions continues to generate speculation. Royal vaults are known to contain items that haven't been seen publicly for decades, or even centuries. The Queen Mother's personal collection was extensive, and if she had specific wishes about various items, there could be other transfers or revelations in the future. Some royal watchers have suggested that the jewelry given to Catherine might be just the beginning, that there could be other items waiting to be passed on when the time is right or when certain conditions are met. This ongoing mystery adds another dimension to the story. It suggests that the Queen Mother's influence extends beyond what has already been revealed, that she may have anticipated other future scenarios and made provisions for them. For a monarchy that often struggles to demonstrate its continued relevance in the modern world, the idea that previous generations made wise provisions for the future provides a reassuring sense of continuity and foresight. The transformation that has occurred is subtle but significant. Catherine has moved from being simply the wife of the future king to being seen as a chosen guardian of royal tradition. The jewelry she wears is not just decoration, but a symbol of approval from the past and promise for the future. Queen Camilla, despite her title, has been reminded that some forms of acceptance and legitimacy cannot be granted through ceremony or proclamation alone. And King Charles has learned that being monarch sometimes means accepting outcomes you didn't choose and cannot change.